Hey there, my name is Dylan Giambatista and I'm glad for the opportunity to chat with you today. I'm here to talk to you about my career in public service and in government. Now, you might be thinking government's a little boring, but the truth is it touches our lives in so many ways, and for me, I took an interest in this line of work because I want to help people. So if you want to help people, a career in government might be for you. So here's what I do. I have two jobs really. I work as a state representative. That means that each 2 years I run for election in my community, and the folks here in my community have picked me to be one of the 150 members of the Vermont House of Representatives. So I attend meetings here, I work with folks, and I go down to Montpelier and I vote on bills that are important to the whole state. That's part of my job. When I'm not in session, because in Vermont our legislature only meets for half of the year, those other times I work for the Vermont State Treasurer's Office. Now, the Treasurer's Office is not something you might have heard of, but it's part of our government that oversees how money is spent. And we have a variety of things that we do, including taking care of our retirees in the state. We make sure that we return unclaimed property to Vermonters. We do outreach around how we invest money. And we also talk a lot about cash management and ensuring our bottom line is strong. So all those things happen in my job. As I told you at the beginning, this is really about helping people. And now more than ever, we need folks in government who have an interest in ensuring all people have a shot at success. And that's what we do. And in Vermont, it's great because we have a small scale. For me, I found a career in government quite unexpectedly, actually. I really thought I wanted to be a teacher because I love history and government. But what I found was that when I went to college, I ended up going both to the Community College of Vermont and then over to Johnson State College, NVU Johnson. I found a real interest in also the value of government and the way that it interacts with people's lives. So I took classes there in political science, and the most important thing I did was I took internships. Now, an internship is an opportunity to work a job with a hands-on experience to get a sense of what a field is like. And so for me, that internship brought me into government. After that, I worked on political campaigns, which is a really fun way to get to know the state and who's working in government. And then I ended up being hired into the state treasurer's office. And as I said, later, I was elected as a state representative. I love so many things about the work I do as a government official. But for me, it's really about helping people. You see, at the treasurer's office, my day job, when I'm there, I'm really focused on trying to help people understand how to use money. Now, everyone wants money, right? But really how we use it and the choices we make impact how we're able to access money, the types of goods and services we're able to buy, if we can get credit and other things. All that's so important, and through my day job, I'm able to work on educating folks about how to use that money and work with our state treasurer to ensure everyone has a shot at that. At the same time, as a state representative, I have a sense of what's going on in my community. I reside down in Essex Junction, so it's a big community, and I have about 9,000 to 10,000 people now in the district that I represent. So as you might expect, things get busy, and if people don't like how something is going, they pick up their phone and they call me. And my job is to be there, to listen, to learn, and depending on what they want, to go down to Montpelier and represent their interests. Between the two of these, I get a lot of opportunities to help people. And for me in my career, that's really important. One of the things I like most about my jobs is that I never have a day that looks the same as the one before it, especially when I'm in the legislature. One day I might be meeting with folks at a coffee shop in town. The next I might be over at our schools meeting with the superintendent. And on another I might be down at the State House with students at a rally about an issue that's important to them. That variety for me is really important because I can't always pay attention all the time, right? I like some activity. I like things that are big and interesting. And government really affords that. Running for elected office is unlike anything else we do. I mean, I gotta tell you, I've had more fun going around in Vermont and campaigning. Because here what you do, it's a real local scale. You walk down streets and you knock on doors, you talk to neighbors, you show up to meetings. And all this really puts you in the middle of some very interesting decisions. As a state representative, I've been able to advocate things that are really important to me, things that I feel like we should be doing more of. And I've been able to advocate for my constituents, who in turn give me feedback about how we're doing. All of this works pretty well, and I know some people laugh at politics nationally or say that it's too divisive and too angry, but in Vermont we're very fortunate. Folks tend to work together, and I've really enjoyed serving in the State House. So, like I said, government might not be for everyone. But if you want to help people, if you want to ensure that folks have the opportunities that maybe you feel like you don't or didn't, if you want to address something in your state, if you want to make sure that when people pick up the phone, there's someone on the other end of the line to help them and to get them what they need, then government might be for you. In the state, we have about 7,000 state employees. These are state workers who work in different careers, ranging from me at the treasurer's office to folks who are law clerks, to people who are working to actually do custodial work, folks who are paving the road. I mean, it really cuts across sectors. But so many of these also help folks who are really vulnerable, people in need, who might need help to get by. So, if you want a career where you're helping people, where you're always engaged, and where you're trying to do better for the state, serving in government might be for you. So I encourage you to check it out, and if you have any questions, please reach out. I'm easy to get a hold of. Now, my days always look different. One example is something that I worked on recently. I recently got this in the mail. This is what we call a resolution. A resolution is a little different from a bill, which you might think of, right? The legislature takes up ideas, we put them into bills, and we make laws. But a resolution is a way that we can pay tribute to something that's happened that's really cool or really notable. In this case, a couple weeks ago, I had the chance to work with some students here at Essex High School who over a course of a couple years had worked to get a national acknowledgement for some of the work they're doing to build a quality youth development community. That means they've applied for something and were actually awarded this designation because our community is considered one that meets these needs of kids. That's pretty cool. And so what I did was I worked with my colleagues and I made sure that we entered into the record of the state legislature a resolution honoring those students and calling out their great work. So this is really cool. This is a resolution which was mailed to me after passage by the clerk of our house, and now I get to take this over to our students here locally and let them know that the legislature honors their work. They can keep it, they can put it on their wall. But all this is to say, not all the things that we deal with in the legislature are big issues. The life and death stuff that you hear about in the news. So much of it is actually about the good work of our communities. And all around Vermont, there are people. Some are your age, some are older, but all of us are trying to pull our communities in the same direction and ensure that we have a bright future. And so I often really get a lot of joy out of acknowledging the good work of others. So that's just one small way that I try to pitch in, help out, and ensure the folks in my community are well represented. So, here's another thing that we do at the legislature. We write laws. If you want a law on the books that says everyone gets Doritos at lunch, you could introduce a bill to do that. Most of the laws that we take up, though, are a little more serious, but nevertheless, we get to do some really cool things. And I've really enjoyed the opportunity to get a phone call from a constituent, in other words, a neighbor in the community who has an idea, and then work with other people in the legislature to try to address it. In fact, a couple years ago, I authored a bill here that was about voting. Because we know voting is really important, right? We have an election coming up. Well, in Vermont, I was able to work with our state elections officer to pass a bill that would ensure that our voter checklist, the file that keeps all the information about voting, was kept safe and secure. It was part of a good government effort, and because of that, I'm really confident as we near the November election that our elections will be safe, that folks will be able to access them, and that's good for our democracy when people can vote. So, that's just one example of one of the laws in this book. And this right here is a book that only describes 1 year of our work. And as you can see, it's a little bit more than 1,300 pages. So if you ever get this for a reading assignment, I hope you have some soda or something, because you're going to need to stay up late to finish it.